You want to stop that now, Axel? So we can go get your backpack and go home? No, I'm not carrying it. Okay, let's go wait for the bus. Can I see that? Don't you run. Axel, it's time to go home.
Honey, can you come back here, please? Mrs. Ladderbush, you want to maybe help stuff?
We're gonna miss the bus, Axel. Axel? No.
Just before Christmas or so, I was told that I'd be getting a student with autism. When I first met Axel, I knew it would be more difficult since he wasn't going to be able to communicate, because that pretty much is your main thing in life, is to be able to talk.
I did.
When Axel first came to us, he had no academic goals in his IEP. It was for behavior and for communication and little things like matching words to pictures and nursery rhymes and matching letters, low-level things to get him to try to communicate. I thought the most important thing was to get him to be able to communicate to us in the classroom, because his way of communicating was using aggression.
Do you have like a worksheet or anything that you're going to be doing? Okay.
We had a hard time trying to get Axel to be in the classroom. He kept expressing to us that he did not want to be in there. We were trying to tell him how important it was for him to be able to be social with his class and to be able to get all of the instruction. I think it was just felt too chaotic to him. With the kids would, be walking around the classroom. There's things on the walls, the lights, it was just a combination of everything that was sensory overload for him. One of the biggest challenges we had in regards to sensory for Axel was that he would perseverate on sentence strips and the lamination that would be in people's recycling bins. He'd touch them on his lips and then roll it back up and then unroll it and roll it back up and unroll it, and that was just very calming for him.
It is 3 because I have a whole number.
Okay, ready?
I always get anxious
Today
when
my
it lights
class
me
is
up.
going to do partner reading.
Our goal is to have all of our students to be in the general ed classroom to learn the general ed curriculum and to be part of our school community.
Peers in the classroom are very good social models for him, and for anybody who's on the spectrum, just being able to see typical peers and how they interact is just such a great thing for kids on the spectrum to see.
They view it here both from a civil rights perspective. Every child has a right to be engaged with the general curriculum, to be engaged with kids from their neighborhood. And they also look at it from an educational outcome perspective. How can we maximize the learning of any one student? And the school team saw very clearly a path for getting more out of Axel's learning by engaging him in a general education classroom. In all the studies that we look at over the last 35 years, even when controlling for the severity of disability, students in general education classrooms show greater academic learning and social emotional learning than students in separate settings. All the comparative studies are very clear and consistent on that message.
Axel, did they both chop down the beanstalk? Did only the original story, or did the trial?
Can you point where it belongs?
Where does it belong? Point.
Yeah, put it where
Put it where it belongs. Axel, where does it belong? Good job. Jack and his mother were very poor. Was that in both the original or the trial? Put it where it goes. Here. Good job. Both or the trial? Put it where it goes. Good job.
They really started off from a point of saying, we think Axel is smart, capable of learning in our local school, capable of communicating lots of thoughts and ideas, but we don't presently understand exactly how to support him. But our starting point is going to be to think that he's smart and that our job is to put together the constellation of supports that will allow him to show that to people.
We just, really needed to get ourselves organized and figure out how, as a team, we were going to work and get Axel what he needed, and all be on the same page as far as what he could do and what we could expect from him.
I'm sitting where I was.
This would be helpful just to have on hand. I'll walk you all through this.
We started to have our weekly team meetings and talk about the, goals that we had for him that week, or the goals, the big goals, the small goals, the little milestones that we wanted to see him make.
Bethany, did you bring that piece of paper where you said how you wanted to communicate?
I did. I
have one as well.
Copied everything. So I said, Axel, someone will be come in to talk to you about communication. Do you want to use a computer to type what you want to say? And he said, yes, I want to type what I want to say, and I want to be able to have friends. So he wants to talk, he wants to be able to say what he wants to be able to just do it.
Yep.
I had a quick question for you. How does he communicate at home? I was just wondering about that.
He used to like grab you or make sound like that, but now he's more like he'll grab your hand and bring you to whatever that he wants.
So he shows
He'll
you.
get what he wants, he'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if he wants mac and cheese, he'll get mac and cheese, bring it to you.
And he will follow you into the
Yeah.
kitchen and make sure that you open it, and once it's open, he walks away.
So he wants to make sure he's getting what he wants.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. He is smarter than he looks, and he's smarter than he acts, I can tell you
Oh,
that.
yeah, oh, yeah.
He knows what he
He's a very
wants.
smart kid.
He is, yeah.
So he's very smart. He just needs to find a way to bring it out and show
Yeah.
everybody how smart he really is.
Yeah.
We totally agree with you.
So,
Throughout this whole process, the family has been involved. We've talked to mom and stepdad about what we would be doing in the classroom, how would we be doing it. I know that they want their children to be successful. Who doesn't? Well, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it. Good seeing you again. Working with a type of child, like with Axel, it was very important that we had more professional development.
We do perimeter, we did that last week. We added all of the numbers that went around, right? So we have to add the numbers in. So if we have 2 on this side, how many do we have on this side? So we put a 2 over there.
So they're all very open to 3 new things that we would like to try.
Okay.
We're going to try setting up Velcro items to manage transitions by putting Velcro strips outside of doorways where he goes. So outside of Ms. McRoby's room would be a small open Velcro, and then there'd be one that says, sit at desk. There's one immediately under it, which is the next step, which is go sit at your desk.
Yeah.
He takes that, goes to his desk, we'll put a Velcro in the upper corner of his desk, he puts it there, and then underneath that one will be wait for directions.
Okay.
So that we can help manage each step of a transition for him so we don't lose him.
Yep.
With autism, there is a likelihood that he's getting distracted, that his body is getting reminded of something else, and so he goes to do that. And having the physical may really aid in that transition. So that's what we're looking to try. We don't know if it'll work, but we want to try it out for a couple of weeks and see. Okay. We are coming to learn that for some individuals with autism, there's a high attention to visual information, as contrasted with auditory information or hearing somebody talk about something. Visually looking at a sequence of steps allows them to take that information in, and you can imagine somebody holding a visual checklist in their mind as they go through a routine. Through a social narrative, we can help Axel understand what the expectations are in a social interaction. Whereas his attention might be on particular things in his environment, we can actually, through a social story, open him up to see what maybe others see as important in a social situation.
What percentage of these animals are ducks?
I was very surprised that there was no type of system in place for him for communication. That really kind of upset me, just thinking that this student is in 5th grade and he's gone all of these years with no communication system. So we really started at square one trying to figure out what would be the best fit for him.
Augmentative and alternative communication, AAC, includes forms of communication other than speech as a primary means of communication. So it may involve students who need some kind of electronic device or non-electronic device in order to convey what it is that they're thinking about, what they're learning, their ideas, their dreams, their opinions. We used to think that students with autism, students like Axel, needed to show that they could use pictures before we would think about using an electronic device with them.
Nice looking, nice eye contact. Thank you for asking.
And in fact, we see for some students, it's actually that higher technology that might allow them to get fully engaged in their communication system.
Okay, Axel and Jocelyn, your partnership. Axel, can you give us one that is the same for both the original and the trial? One's that's the same. Jack climbs, sorry, I didn't hear, thank you. Okay, Jack climbs a beanstalk.
He had expressed to us that he wanted to write and type. We took a big, large piece of construction paper and marked off just the letters of his first and last name as a starting point.
X, E, L, hello, C, O, R, T, E, S, Axel Cortez.
By independently interacting with the iPad, he won't need an adult to stabilize him while he's writing out words and letters.
As skeptical as people are, I think your philosophy needs to be to believe in the student.
You are all hugs today. There you go.
There are some real challenges that are still playing out for Axel. The way that he moves through space is not predictable. He'll get agitated by sounds in his environment. He's still a child with autism. Another thing that will be a challenge for Axel going forward is if he comes in contact with any educators who don't hold high expectations of him. That means we also need to engage the local community and make sure they're able to interact with Axel in a respectful way.
I'm going to give this to Mrs. Heber to hold, okay? You're going to stand up here with us.
You are so good job.
All right, guys, are we ready to start? Yeah. So like I said before, you guys have asked Axel a bunch of questions in the past week, and he's replied to your answers, and he's answered the majority of them. First of all, Axel has written a little biography about himself, and then we can start going around with your questions, okay? Okay, so we're gonna slide it open and go.
My name is Axel Cortez. I am 12 years old. I love school and I love basketball. My favorite subject is math. I have 2 brothers and 1 sister. I live with my mother and her boyfriend. I know 2 languages. I know English and Spanish.
AAC is integral within alternate assessment and with students' participation in their local schools, because it is how they're going to show what they're learning. It is how they're going to show what they know.
Your class would like to know how difficult it is for you to be a little different. Can you show me a ready hand, please?
Yep.
I think it is very hard to talk to people and it is hard to make friends. It is sad to not have friends.
For a student who was perceived to be low-functioning, nonverbal, through AAC, Axel has been able to actually show that he's bilingual, biliterate, can learn grade-level curriculum, and can excel in engagement with kids without disabilities. Axel's now on the path to college. He's now on the path to having a career because he has a way to communicate.